Hey guys, welcome back to Sip and Dip with Chelsea. For today's video, I'm trying out solid cream gel polish for the first time. It's those gel puddings that come in those super cute little palettes, and I'm gonna share 8 tips and tricks that I learned from watching other tutorials and now from my own firsthand experience. So these tips are going to be some of how to prevent any sort of gel product from peeling on top of dip powder, because I'm going to be doing it on dip powder today. I wouldn't be sip and dip if I didn't. And then these are also going to be tricks on how to prevent it from getting those streaks because it is a thicker consistency. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Model Ones, for sponsoring today's video and sending me over these 3 new collaborations with 3 different artists of solid cream gel polish palettes. The packaging is stunning. I love it. They all are so different and unique. You can see these are the shades of each palette here on the side. So first up, let's dive into Tom Baychek. Tom's palette is called Rich Girl Retro. And again, here on the side are the shades that are within this palette. Lots of deep jewel tone shades. The packaging, again, you guys, is just gorgeous. This holographic shine on it. Here inside is going to be your brush. So it has this little protector here on the edge. Here is the beautiful Model Ones logo, and then you attach this to the end, and now you have your brush. When you are done, you just put this cap right back on top so it's easy storage and protection. Here's the palette itself. On the back side, you get to see the shades that are inside. So Rich Girl Retro, you open it up and it's just like a little eyeshadow palette. So it has this cute little logo up here. It has a nice protective seal. So you're just gonna pull this seal back and you will see all of the gorgeous shades inside. There are just so many beautiful pairing possibilities with this one. Next up, we have the Pretty Unique one, and I love this one. I almost used it today. There's nothing more satisfying than pulling off that protective film. I feel like this one has such a fun spring, summery, but also like a punk rock vibe. Last, we have the one from Saxon Charbino, and this is the one I'm using today. I just fell in love with these shades. I feel like these could honestly be used for spring, like transitioning into spring, but also transitioning into fall. These mauve undertones are just stunning. I feel like you could really do some art, like leaf art with this one. I don't know, you guys, it's just calling my name. I have peel base on my natural nails to keep up with filming, so make sure you prep your natural nails to last if you want your manicure to last. So I've got my dip powder base liquid, and I also have my clear powder. So you can do this on other shades if you'd like. However, I really want to see the true opacity of the gel polishes, so I want to do clear underneath. So I start by removing the excess product on my brush, and then we're just going to keep it simple today and do full layers on our entire nail and then dip into the clear. If you want, you can absolutely build up an apex with clear, so I can leave that video linked up above, but today I just want to keep it simple and have the star of the show be the gel. So I'm going to just clean up around my cuticle area, get a nice crisp clean look before we go in for our gel. So we're going to repeat these steps for each of our nails, just building up that dip powder strength on our natural nails underneath this solid cream gel polish. You can apply this gel product on top of your natural nails, builder gel, dip powder. It's very versatile, so whatever you want to do, that's how you can do it. All right, so I'm done with layer number 1. Once it is dry, I'm going to dust off the excess and start on layer number 2. It's going to be the same steps. We're going to do a full layer of our dip base, avoiding our skin, and then dip into the clear. I would love to know which of those palettes is y'all's favorite. I feel like certain colors just call to us, and for some reason, that last one really just screams my name. So I'm just showing you here. It looks a little bit wet still, so I'm going to dip right back in. If you ever notice that the dip powder has a little bit of shine, you can dip right back into the powder so it can fully absorb into that base liquid. I'm also going to timestamp this video, so if you're only interested in seeing the application process of the gel polish, I will leave that timestamped. So I'm all done. They all still look a little bit wet, so I'm going to dip each of them back in really quick, and now they're done. You can see how much more powdery they look, so we can dust them off. Now it's time to activate. So we're going to apply a very generous layer of this to each of the nails. Notice when I dip in, I'm not wiping any of that product off. It has to be really generous so it can penetrate through all of those dip powder layers. Then we let this sit for 2 minutes before we file. Now with the 180 grit side of my nail file, I'm just going to go around my free edge shape first. It's a very quick, simple process. Once you really get down your application, so your dip powder application, it makes filing and shaping so much faster. So spend that time getting the liquid ratio down, and then I promise you shaping will be easier. All right, y'all, here is tip number 1. Skip the buffing block. If you're doing any sort of gel product on top of dip powder, whether that be a gel top coat, these solid cream gel polishes, or regular gel polishes, it does not like a smooth surface. It will peel right off. So please skip the buffing block and use the 180 grit side of your file instead. So first I like to go around my sidewall area and just blend it down so it's not too thick and bulky. Then I go up around my cuticle area, angling my file to not cut down into my nail or skin. And you see I'm just going around my cuticle area, and then I go right around that sidewall again, just blending it down. Once I'm happy with it, then I go across the entire top surface to make sure I don't have anything uneven on the nail before we go in for our gel polish. So remember, y'all, keep it rough, don't buff when doing any sort of gel on top of dip powder. I went ahead and finished the rest up off camera, so we are almost ready to start playing with the gel. Now, normally if you're doing a dip powder top coat, you would do a second layer of activator, but we're not using a dip powder top coat today. So we're gonna skip the second activator and instead cleanse our nails with rubbing alcohol. Once it's dry, you can go in for your next step, which is also tip number 2, gel base. So yes, with the dip powder, we want to apply a layer of gel base so that the gel polish has something to grab onto and go on smoother. So we're going to apply a thin, even layer of this product across our entire nail, avoiding our skin. Then we're going to cure for 60 seconds. So this is going to help that solid cream gel polish not peel off of the dip powder. It's very important to not get any of these gel products on your skin and to also apply them in thin layers so that they can cure properly. So once I'm done with each of the nails, I'm going to cure for 60 seconds. And now do not touch it. There's going to be a tacky layer on here that is meant for that solid cream gel polish. So that tackiness is normal. It's supposed to be there. So do not touch it or remove it. Tip number 3, I think, is the most important, which is we're going to prime our brush with a little bit of gel base coat. So apply a small amount of this to a gel palette. And then with our brush, we're going to remove that protective layer and then also sort of work through our brush bristles. They can be a little bit stiff at first. So just move them around a little bit to get them moving. Then attach that bottom piece to your brush, and now we're going to prime it. So I learned this from Anastasia over on her YouTube channel. This is going to help our solid cream gel polish not be streaky. Here's the star of the show. Again, this is the color Confidence. Everybody acts surprised that I'm using this gorgeous mauve-y pink shade first. So here are the 3 that I decided to use. And it honestly feels like a crime right now to dig my brush into this because it just looks so gorgeous, but we gotta do it. As the name suggests, it does have a solid consistency, but once you start to work your brush through it, it does warm up kind of like a pudding. So it is a creamy consistency, but it does start out solid. Tip number 4, I also learned from Anastasia, which is to carve out your cuticle area first and then drag that excess down. Here's where tip number 5 is going to come in real quick, y'all. You have to use very light pressure with your brush or else you will get those brush strokes. So in the moment, I was really concerned about keeping my layers thin, but at this point, I should have gone back and gotten some more product on my brush. So now this time, I'm gonna make sure I get a little bit more product on my brush before I start my pinky. You're going to see I have a much better coverage on my pinky nail than I do on my pointer. So again, I started by carving out my cuticle area and then drag that excess product down. It's very important that we don't apply a lot of pressure and that we don't over manipulate the gel. So you can see the difference here on my pinky nail. It has more coverage than my pointer finger because I left more product on the brush. So now I'm going to cure for 60 seconds and go in for the second layer. So I'm going to keep a little bit more product on my brush, but still keep my layers thin. Start by tracing my cuticle area and then drag the excess down with a light pressure. If you are someone who has struggled with gel polish and keeping it off of your skin because, you know, it's kind of runny and it gets all over and it's sort of messy, this might be the product for you because as you can see, this creamy solid consistency makes it really easy to perfectly place it where you want. It is not going to move. Remember to just float your brush on top and do not over manipulate it because you'll begin to start removing the gel instead of letting it just sit there. Now I'm going to cure for 60 seconds and I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol and a lint-free wipe to clean off my brush because I'm going to dip into a different shade. Now I'm going to prime my brush again because I did clean it off. If you were using just one shade, you wouldn't have to go through all of those steps, but y'all know me, I got to be extra. I want to try them all. So although I already mentioned tip number 6, I want to save it for this part of the video because right here I start to see I have no more product on my brush. You see how it's getting very light? Dip back in, get a little bit more on your brush, and now look at that coverage. I'm still keeping my layers thin, but anytime I feel any tugging or I start to see I'm removing the product, right there, you see I'm starting to remove it again. So I see I have a little bit on my brush, I need a little bit more, then go back in. Don't be afraid to dip back in, do a little bit each time. If you start to see you're removing it, make sure you get more on there. So I did my thumb off camera. We're going to cure for 60 seconds and go in for our second layer. At this point, I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. I start by just tracing my cuticle area. I now know, okay, I can feel that tugging. I need a little bit more on my brush. It's really important to use light pressure and not over manipulate it. I can't stress that enough because you're gonna notice you end up just removing the product if you aren't careful in keeping product on the brush. Still remember, always do light layers with gel so it can cure properly though. What's nice too is this product is really thin, so if you want to do 3 layers, you can. Now we're going to cure for 60 seconds and wipe off our brush. Now I'm just going to reprime it again with the gel base, and we're going to dip into this gorgeous shimmery glitter pearl look. Y'all, tip number 7 is my own major personal opinion, but do the shimmer or the glitter first. If you're experimenting and trying out this product, try the shimmer first because it is so much easier to use. It's less likely to show the streaks. I don't know what it is about the formula, but I found it so much easier than those solid shades. This color, y'all, is incredible. Look at how gorgeous it shines in my light. We're gonna cure for 60 seconds and go in for that second layer. So again, if I could tell myself before starting this manicure, I would not have done those solid shades. So just a tip for a first timer like myself, I would highly suggest doing the shimmer if you like shimmers or glitters because it is so much easier to use and way more forgiving. So we're going to cure again for 60 seconds. Now it's time for our gel top coat, which also so happens to be the tip number 8. Do the gel top coat, the glossy gel top coat. Skip the matte top coat because this glossy is going to help cover up all of those streaks or imperfections. Listen, I'm a beginner with this product. I've never used it before. It happens. Of course, make sure you cap off that free edge, but maybe skip the matte top coat for your first time because the glossy is just so much more forgiving. Again, this is all just a huge personal opinion, but man, was I happy for this layer on top because it smooths it all out and really just gives it a crisp, clean look. So I'm just applying a very thin layer, even layer of this gel top coat, capping off that free edge and making sure I do not get this product on my skin. Once I'm done applying a layer of this to each of the nails, then I'm going to show you a little trick to make sure it's nice and smooth on top. So we're going to flip our hand upside down. This is going to help level out that gel before we cure. Then after a few seconds, we can flip it back over and we're going to cure for 60 seconds. All right, y'all, that is it. I've added my cuticle oil and honestly, I enjoyed the product. I think once you get the hang of it and learn from my mistakes,
I really do like it, especially if you're someone who has struggled with gel polish and keeping it off your skin. This is much easier to control, in my opinion. Thank you so much again, Model Ones, for sponsoring today's video, sending me over these beautiful collaborations. Congratulations on that. And thank you guys for watching. I hope that you found today's video helpful. I can't wait to hear which one of those palettes you guys liked. I'm definitely coming back for a full shimmer mani next time. All right, y'all, I will see you next week.
Welcome back to... I'm trying out solid cream gel polish. What is gel polish?